All right, yesterday I discussed Family Research Council's newly released update to its report on incidents of hostility against churches, and the numbers are absolutely staggering. 436 acts of hostility against churches from January to November of 2023 alone. That's more than double all the numbers in 2022. And look, we understand as believers that the Bible warns us to prepare for hostile times. That hostility against the church is going to come. And of course, the scripture also assures us that God is going to be with us and guide us through these trials. But as Christians, it's important for us to keep our eyes open to what's going on. Well, joining me now to break down all these numbers is the author of the report, Arielle Del Turco. She's the director of the Center for Religious Liberty here at the Family Research Council. Arielle, welcome back to Washington Watch. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me, Jody.
Well, let's begin with some of the hard numbers. There's a lot of information in this incredibly detailed report that you've put forth. What are some of the hard numbers that stand out the most?
Yeah, so you hit the big one, which is that we had 436 acts of hostility just from January through November of 2023, which was the reporting period. And that was well over double what it had been the year before in 2022, where we just had about 195. It's the second consecutive year where we saw almost a doubling in the numbers. So from 2021 to 2022, we saw nearly double. And then again from 2022 to 2023, we saw nearly double that. So it's almost an unsustainable rate of growth for these incidents. And this is something that should seriously be of concern to Americans who care about religious freedom, care about Americans' ability to be able to go to their church or house of worship without feeling that they are going to be targets of some crime, that they're unwelcome in their community. We see this as a very alarming trend.
Well, absolutely. And I saw in there that your report actually goes back to 2018, and from 2023 back to 18, it's like an 800% increase. I mean, we're not just seeing a rise, we are seeing a launching that's taking place of acceleration. And I know what you just said, people want to be secure when they go to church. I know this is a huge report, and any attack on a church is a terrible thing. But what are some of the more egregious incidents that jump out at you as to what's happened in churches across the country?
Well, we unfortunately saw many incidents where churches were completely destroyed, mainly by arson attacks. A church would be either deeply damaged or almost entirely destroyed. But some of the incidents that stick out to me most are actually when a church has just been ransacked, where someone breaks into a church, they might rip Bibles out of pews, like tear the Bibles apart, just destroy anything within their grasp in a church sanctuary, tearing down crosses. All of these acts are just so ugly, and the churches that it happens to, they're always so astonished. But often we see pastors react with just a call to prayer for the victim, because we know that this is a spiritual attack in some way, that people are reacting out of some sort of irrational anger or hatred. And sadly, we see this far too often. So for churches, we really need to be thinking about how can we be responding to these attacks? How can we be preparing for them? And really, what do we even think about them? Because so many churches are completely caught off guard, rightfully so. We should feel safe and secure in the United States with our rights and our religious freedom, and with law enforcement. And yet this is catching us by surprise more and more. So it's just a deeply concerning trend all around.
Well, when you see these type of numbers, the drastic increase that's taking place, it has to indicate something bigger, a bigger problem in our society. And I think many people look at this report and they have to be asking why. Why are we seeing this? Did you find anything to indicate what is the cause of this type of hostility?
Well, it's very difficult. It's difficult to know what's going on in the human heart, and all of these incidents are different. But one thing I think is just obvious to point to is just this collapse in societal respect for religion and religious institutions, particularly churches. We see the mainstream media constantly maligning religion, maligning Christianity in particular. It's blamed in academia as being a source of oppression for different minority groups. And so when you have all of these social forces building up, of course that's going to spill over in real world effects. And some of the real world effects are these attacks on churches that people have less respect for church buildings themselves, and they feel more comfortable using a church to express their anger at, to walk by a church and throw a brick in a window, or to tear down a statue that's outside a church building. These just random acts of hostility, of aggression that we're seeing more and more. I think it reflects something bigger, and it's just this overall social collapse in respect for Christianity.
Absolutely. Arielle Del Turco, thank you so much for this incredible report.